Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Neighborhood Conversations, where we have inclusive conversation, welcoming amazing leaders who are doing amazing things in the community. And we're going home all the way to United Way. Amazing leaders who are here today. We have Sue, LaPierre, and Liz Struijf-Mandishora with us today, and we are so honored to connect with both of these amazing women who are doing amazing things in community. Today, we're talking about impact. Impact, we've been having this conversation for the past few episodes and what that looks like for you as individuals. This is your neighborhood. We're gonna, whether you're in your car, whether you're on the street, whether you're in your kitchen, sit back. Welcome to the Neighborhood Conversations. Ladies, thank you so much for joining in. How are you today?
Fantastic. Thank you, Templeton, and thank you for having us.
Just awesome. Thank you so much, Templeton, for inviting us in. It's great to be here.
Thank you so much. It's really good to have both of you. I know I've seen United Way. I've seen the work that United Way have done. I'm so happy that both of you were able to come on to represent the organization, but also represent yourselves, talking about what you bring to community from that perspective. Because the main point of these impact series is that we want to see the humans of the organization, the persons who are bringing that connection in order to make the organization who it is, what it is today, and where it's going. And so, tell us about who you are and what role you play at the organization. Sue, I'll start with you, then I'll start with you, Liz. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sure. As you mentioned, I work with United Way Halifax. I've been with United Way for a long time, 22 years, and I currently hold the role of Director of Social Impact Strategy. So really what that means is I work with a team of people who work to address through mechanisms like funding, through partnership, through convening, through some capacity building in community, work to address issues of poverty, housing and homelessness and inclusion. And we do that through working to address issues, to alleviate the impacts of poverty, but also working towards some of the longer term solutions on the conditions, the societal factors that help cause and keep people in poverty. And
Wow.
so that's what I do at United Way, and I work with an amazing team of people like Liz, and am privileged to do so.
Wow, that's amazing. Thanks so much, Sue. Liz, go ahead.
Yeah, and thank you, Sue. And my role is the official title is the Director of Revenue Development and Donor Engagement. So I spend a lot of time also working with a whole team of people that support donors or people who want to give to community, and helps them understand the needs in community and how they can make a difference and how they can make impact, and also helps to inform them of what those long and short-term needs are that Sue is mentioning. And so it's really a privilege to be able to be spending time, thinking about that type of work with community and helping others to achieve those types of goals.
Awesome. Wow. Thank you so much. Both of you have amazing roles, both connecting with community, investing in community in different ways. And I know you have a lot of connection and impact and conversations. I always try to say the role is important, the title is important, but the more part is the impact of what you do with that title and how you change it into your perspective and make it more unique to you and as a human. What does impact mean to you in your perspective roles of how you show up? I can say that. Yeah. And I can start with Liz and I'll go with Sue.
Yeah, thank you, Templeton. I think, impact, when I think about impact if I think about it in terms of my role at United Way, it's really thinking about that, how individuals and organizations such as corporate workplaces, different workplaces, how they have a desire to help others in community or to support other people in community and to support the needs in community, and how we help those individuals or those organizations really, first of all, understand what those needs are, and how they can connect to those issues and how they can actually take a part in making that difference that is needed. So we connect to issues by even storytelling. So hearing the stories of what's happening in community, hearing the stories of impact, also the stories of change and the stories of like how what they do is actually making a difference. And also even looking at how other people are contributing, because there are many ways that people can contribute, right? Some people are giving in terms of donations, some people are giving their time, and some people are literally, when it comes to impact, are helping their neighbors do something in terms of making a difference. So United Way, the way United Way, when I think about United Way, or even individually, how impact is made, I think of it as a cumulative thing where one action leads to more actions that then help the whole community come together.
I like the word action. That's what impact does. Is like you can have a lot of conversations, but if you're not adding that action into it, what are you doing? I always try to say, what are you doing? And I totally connect that storytelling part. It's all about the storytelling in order for people to make more impact. Is that story that inspires us to move forward and stuff like that. So thank you so much, Liz, for sharing that. Sue, what do you got for us? I know you got something.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about impact for us at United Way, and for me personally, I think it really starts with being community informed. So that's making sure that we have the voices of lived experience, the voices of service providers in community, the voices of trusted partners in community, data, so that we really understand the reality of what's happening in community and listen to community about what possible solutions are. And I think that is just so important, that listening to communities so that whatever we do is informed by them and meets their needs. So I think it starts there. And I would say that for us at United Way, it is really sort of about that continuum. We absolutely need to support the immediate needs of people in community. We see, especially right now, there's just so much going on with the impacts of homelessness and affordable housing and rising costs and food costs. So we really have a responsibility every day to be doing what we can to alleviate those impacts for people. But we also have to be looking at the long-term solutions. And we have to be addressing the problems in community that create the conditions that force people to live in those circumstances. So impact is about today, it's about tomorrow, it's about the day after, but it always starts with being informed by the voice of community.
I like that, and I totally agree with you, Liz, that there's so much issues that we have to solve, and there's much greater that can happen if we all work together and if we all bring our togetherness. I always use the African proverb of Ubuntu. Our success is your success. It means we're all working in this to connect with community and to make things possible. I love the responses of both of you when you speak about impact. But I want to hear more of that action from you personally. But how are you making impact in your community? It doesn't have to be connected with United Way, but it can be connected personally with the community that you live in, and also other communities. So I want to hear that part from you. And so I'm going to start with you, and then I'm going to go on to Liz with that perspective. Yeah.
Sure. So one of the reasons I work at United Way Halifax is because of our shared value system. So if I think about who I am as a person, working at United Way allows me to live those values in my work role as well. So that's really important to me. So it is hard to separate who I am from who United Way is, because the United Way is a way that I is part of how I live my values. And so when I think about, the actions at United Way, they are so informed by our values. They are so about understanding that no person, no family, no neighborhood is broken or in disrepair, that they are not there waiting to be fixed, that what has happened is that there's societal conditions that have made their life more challenging. There may have been circumstances that have made their life more challenging, but they have the skills and the abilities to address their own issues. And so our role is to really help support people so that they can do what they need to do to make their life better. And people are full of skills and talents and insights and energy and knowledge that when you support them, they can engage those tools to help themselves. And so that's a lot of how United Way does our work. We are about supporting people to do the things that they want to do to improve their own lives, their own neighborhoods, their own communities. And we do that. We often say at United Way, really don't do anything alone. We do everything in partnership. We work with a whole network of service providers who work in neighborhoods and in communities and at street level to engage people to support them in the ways they need. We work with partners like governments, municipal, provincial, federal. We work with other organizations and institutions. We work with donors. We work with volunteers. So we really don't do anything alone. And everything is really led by our value systems. So that's kind of how I would say we inform the actions to create impact.
Wow, that's really amazing. You know what I love the part where you said you're connecting your values, and you always have to bring your values into play when connecting with a community perspective, and because you've been there for a while, and you know that your personal values from before coming to United Way has connected to why you do the work. That brings in more energetic, if I could say that, but brings in more energized for you to move forward in the work and see it as good work, not hard work. All that good stuff. So that's really important. Liz, what do you got for us? I want to hear your perspective on this question.
Yeah, and I think, Sue really nailed it there when you talk about values, because as I was just reflecting on this question, I think like my on a personal level, my life story is the story of literally being raised by community, because I was born in Zimbabwe in Africa, where everything was driven by the actions of community and people helping each other to be able to allow other people to have possibility. And that applies to my story as well. And so when you ask like what in terms of action, how that comes to life, for me, it just is that underlying value of a sense of responsibility around we do things together, it's every part of my life, including raising kids. You work together with others to be able to do such actions by volunteering and being part of what is happening in the community and supporting those actions. And like Sue said, really one of the most amazing things about United Way, it is indeed a place where you get to live your values and work your values. So when I think about that, when United Way is funding different programs, really the goal, like Sue said, is to really almost give that exponential factor to allow those organizations to do what they do best. So it's not really like a handout. It's more like making possibilities for them to do what they're very, very good and strong at doing, and facilitating that possibility. And then when you think about, even we talked about workplaces and volunteerism, and just the idea that there are so many people in community who want to do something. And I love what you say, Templeton. I think community is a verb. It's a doing word. So the actions that we take are to actually actively engage ourselves into what is going on. Right. So helping people, volunteering and that kind of stuff, for me, is really a part of doing that. And helping people understand those needs is part of doing that. And from a United Way perspective, even when it comes to like, we fund housing solutions, micro shelters, things that actually help people have a chance at better options in life. So like Sue said, it's really, again, values all coming together and being able to live and actually work our values through United Way and personal values as well.
I look forward to my family's security in the future. That's the main goal as a father.
The empowerment from changing careers has really just made me want to get out of bed in the morning.
I'm looking forward to growing my business. So I want to hire people like I was hired. I want to give guys that chance.
Il me fera plaisir de continuer à travailler avec les immigrants francophones en Nouvelle-Écosse.
I am looking forward to the financial freedom that I never had before.
And I like that. I really do like that. And I think that that's really important. One of the things that you said, Liz, is that when you are coming together for the good of the community, it's something that brings joy. And I love that you guys, both you ladies, apply the work so passionately that you don't make it about if it's hard. It's not hard. It's actually impact. It's something that's going to help you to grow on a longer run. And I'm happy that both of you have distinct roles, roles that will make impact, but also roles that will have continuous actionable conversations in order for other organizations to be mentored under your organizations to filter out more impact. And so this question more connects more with how can you give some tips and benefits up to organizations who want to make impact, but they don't know how to make that. And I know sometimes in order to make impact, you have to work together. It's all about that working together piece. That's so important. And if your team is not working together, then it's like a divide, basically. And so like, I know there's an African proverb that speaks if you're working alone, then there's a little bit of weakness, but if you're working together, that's where the strength comes along, and it brings the vibrantness and stuff like that. And so I go by that a lot, especially when at Teamwork we share those values of working together. So Sue, I wanna hear your thoughts on where we go with that, and then I'll hear your perspective, Liz, for sure.
So like, what would I say to an organization that wants to increase their impact in community, and what are some of the lessons we've learned like that?
Yeah. That in that way. Yeah.
Okay. I would say, oh gosh, there's so many lessons learned, but I would say humility is foremost. United Way has been on such a learning journey. We have really, in these last years, adopted an EDI lens, equity, diversity, inclusion. And so we've really had to be on a very deliberate journey of learning and unlearning. And that has really taken humility, and that is really important to our growth as an organization. It's really important to our growth as human beings. It's really important to us in order to better serve community and better to live our values and really understand the impact of marginalization, the impact of colonialism, and really embrace truth and reconciliation and our part in that. So I would say humility is absolutely key to creating impact. And I think when you lead with humility, you don't ever allow your ego to make your decisions. And that is so important, I think, in really wanting to serve community well.
Right. I love that. I love that you have to humble yourself in order for you to be, in order for the space to be healthy, but also in order for people to want to work with you, in order for people to want to make impact with you and to spread. It's like, that's why I go back to, it's not about the title, it's what you do with the title. It's like how you make that impactful message. Yes, a director is always a good executive role, but it's how you make that directing of impact into that way. So I like that. Move aside the ego, bring the humility of service and leadership. And that is so important. Thanks so much, Sue, for that. Liz, what do you got for us? I know you got something.
I love when Sue goes first, because I can just chime in on top of that, because I think, you both said something that just like kind of triggered my memory. And the first thing is even what Sue mentioned around working together. I think for people who are looking to make impact, you have to remember there's so much, you can do something alone, but there is so much more we can achieve when we work together. And these are some of the values that we see with United Way in terms of bringing people together. And and you mentioned a saying, and I mean, I don't know if this is the same saying you have. I grew up with a saying that says "Umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu," which means a person is a person because of other people. So when we all come together, we can achieve so much more than when one person or one organization or one group tries to kind of do things on their own. So if you're really looking to make that impact, take that humbleness that Sue is talking about and that spirit of serving, and remember that we should be open to working together with more people in order for us to actually make that impact. So that would be sort of like one of the learnings that I kind of like hold dear in terms of just recognizing no one ever has to do it alone. It's actually when we all band together that we achieve so much more.
Wow. And I have heard of that African saying as well. I think that we have a lot of historical sayings, which is really important. Role models, a lot of role models in community, and that they also make impact and they also inspire us. And I'm pretty sure you are role models in community as well in your respective fields. Who are your role models that has inspired you to do this work today? And Liz, I'm going to go with you first, and then I'm going to hear Sue's perspective on that. Yeah.
I think it's so hard to find one role model.
Role models? What are that?
Yeah, because often there's so much coming together. But I would say role model for me is a collective of just being brought up by community and in community myself. So I would almost say like community is a role model in that, just that learning that you do need others in order we need to lift each other up to be able to get things done. I also think another sort of like collective role model would be, Sue spoke a bit about people who have that lived experience that teach us a lot about their own experience and therefore teach us how to address some of the challenges that they face. And they have a lot to teach us and that we can learn. So I would say that's a real role model for me, because the amount of stuff we learn from that when we come to the table with a willingness to learn rather than a mindset of that we're going to fix others or sort other people out. I think we learn a lot more. And then lastly, I would just have to say my mother, who really taught me that, the value of what it means to be a part of a whole and therefore a part of community.
Love it. A collective. I love that word. It's a collective of persons who bring voices together, but also a part of what you said. You said something just now where you were talking about. Oh my gosh, I'm losing train of thought. It'll come back to me. Sue, I'll let you go first, and I'll come back to that thought.
Great. I'd say very much like Liz, it's really hard to name a role model or even role models. The list would be very long. I think when I think about other people that inspire me, I honestly see good in everyone. And so when I look at another person, I often will identify a characteristic that I admire, a way of being in the world that is inspirational, an inner strength, the beauty of character. And so it's really about what are the characteristics of other people that inspire me? And I think about, I'm surrounded by great people, great friends, great colleagues, a beautiful family. And so I think about, I have 2 daughters and a daughter-in-law who are amazing, strong women, and I learn from them every day. I have a son who is just a pillar of integrity and strength, and I watch him for inspiration. I have a husband who is smart and dedicated and funny. And I once heard the definition of love is when somebody makes you want to be a better person. And that's what I have with my husband. And so it's just kind of like looking to the people around me, and there's always something there to inspire me or something to try to emulate or to learn from. And so it's less about who and more about what does everybody have to teach me.
Wow. That is so good. And Liz, you said earlier, now I remember what you said, is like, you're not there to change someone, but you're allowing them to share what they have to bring to the table. That was one of the things that caught guard to me, and I think that's really important. And Sue, when it talks about family are the inspiration that helps us to bring community. I come from a family growing up in the Bahamas where my grandmother is a bakery owner who was a good giver, and my grandparents grew up in the church. And knowing how to give and how to be of acts of service. And I think one of the reasons why I give more, I think during the time my grandparents, when Hurricane Doreen came to the Bahamas, it was struck on the island that I grew up in. I saw my grandparents give their heart, and they served with humility, and didn't know, and then just more keep coming back to them and so I think that's one of the reasons why I serve, and that's why I humbled myself and put my ego aside, because the ego is there. We do all have egos. Let's just say we do have that, but it brings that we have to humble ourselves and put us in that vulnerable way of giving, and also being a way of listening and also acting upon what is being said to us. And every day my partner challenges me on different areas. And I think having a strong partner as well that challenges you to move forward, it hits the cake. It brings the icing on the cake for sure, and all that good stuff. And so, wow. This has been such amazing conversation, from impact to impact to impact, and more impact to come as you continue to share. And I hope that, listening audience, I hope that this has inspired you to move forward and to go out in your community to make impact, but also to remember those who have helped pave the way for you to make impact and stuff like that. That's really important as well. And so I'm going to close this episode out by saying, Liz and Sue, leave us with hope. We always try to end the podcast with hope, some type of hope message, quote, or saying that will inspire the community to move forward in this impact. So Liz, I'll hear from your perspective, and Sue, I'll allow you to close us out with the bang and all that good stuff. Let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Templeton. Thank you for having us. And I think my last words would be, I always go back to my African core tradition. We have a saying that says, hands wash each other, which means, you don't have to do it alone. You always can depend on other people. Thank you.
Love that. Sue, what do you got for us?
I know this is inspired by somebody else, not an original Sue thought, and it may even be a quote, but I don't have the quote. But it's the idea that poverty is a man-made condition, and I say man-made is not individually man-made; it's society-made, and because of that, it can also be corrected by man. And that's what gives me hope every day, is that if we have created these conditions that allow poverty, we can also create the solutions to bring us out of it.
And there are solutions, and we can definitely find the ways of creating. Wow, this is so amazing. Such amazing wealth of knowledge. Thank you both ladies for coming on to the conversation today. And we'll definitely see you on again. I would love to hear more what United Way is continuing to do in the coming months to come. And then we'll go from there. But until then, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your evening, and we'll see you at the next episode, everyone.
Thank you, Templeton.
Thank you for having us.
This podcast is funded by the Government of Nova Scotia.